Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This video will be about Saturn, who makes a very important step in the month of February. He becomes invisible on 6th of February until 17th of April. Saturn will be invisible. And this is a very, very important concept of the ancient astrology, astronomy, of the Babylonians. As I previously mentioned, the heliacal phases of the planets were considered, according to the ancients, as more important than transits or other aspects, astrological, astronomical aspects. So this video will be about Saturn, what he will bring to us in the month of February, and then of course we'll be looking through the 12 ascendants very briefly on how Saturn will influence our lives from February until April, because in April he becomes visible in specific degree. Now also to tell you what is very briefly, I have several videos on the concept of visibility, invisibility of the planets. Now the planets is a principle. The planet is carrying very special divine energy. We are familiar with the celestial spheres, their meaning, their hierarchies. And Saturn sits quite high when you look at the celestial spheres. So his hierarchy, his influence, his impact on us is very important. We call him the Lord of Karma, the Lord of Tears, the Lord of Time, because he has different representations, different, if you want, incarnations, different manifestations. We know him as God Ninurta of the ancient Sumer, Babylon. He's brother of Nergal, who is Mars. Later on, we know him as Kronos of the Greeks, and then he's Saturn of the Romans. Up until now, we know him as Saturn. And he, as Kronos, is a Titan, giant figure. He's not a god, but he's a Titan. Anyhow, I will look a little bit briefly at his first and most, maybe not diluted, maybe most primal, if you want, clear meaning of his energy. So as God Ninurta, in some of the Babylonian texts, he was really compared, his energy was compared with the energy of Nergal. He was given too much of martial attributes because he was seen as the giant hero. You know, he was the one who opened the gates and the water of the great flood watered humanity. So he also was called the king. And see, there is one text here, Neo-Assyrian text, where they say the warrior, the lordly son of Enlil, Ninurta, the fierce bull, fit to be a prince, the hero, manifesting Shumesha, the glory of the city, the judge, the king of the gods, the butting bull, placing his foot on the rebel lands, Ninurta, the lord of the city, and I will not say the city name, has taken his seat on the throne. Like the new moon, he comes forth over the people. Like Nana, Nana is the god of the moon. He is in heaven and earth. He holds in his hand a scepter of shining precious metal, and the true crown of An is placed on his head. An, or god Anu, is one of the primal gods. Like Utu, he comes forth over, Utu is the sun god in Sumer. Like the sun god Utu, he comes forth over. Like Nana, he stands over the high mountains. Just to tell you about his significance, Saturn is so significant. I want really to emphasize on that this is energy that we may need really to know better, to work a little bit more with, because If you remember, of course you remember, these major changes which started taking place on Earth in 2020 were mainly, not only, mainly due to his presence in Capricorn. End of January of 2020, Saturn entered sidereal Capricorn, and you saw what happened. He was on his throne. The king that I just described, God Ninurta, was on his throne, and he started these major changes because he was very powerful in Capricorn. Now, since end of January of 2023 until late December of 2025, Saturn will be ruling, I would say, or exercising his kingship in Aquarius, and we'll be speaking about this also a little bit more. So my video now, yes, this was a long introduction, but I feel this should be long introduction. So my video will be about Saturn, his major influence, of course, now, especially from 6th of February until 17th of April, when he becomes visible. And we will see in which degrees this is happening, because every single degree on the sky matters, especially from the perspective of the sidereal astrology. And also, of course, we'll be looking at the 12 ascendants. And I also want to tell you that these are sidereal coordinates. What is this meaning? This is meaning that this is the astronomical picture of the sky depicted in the horoscope that we look at. This means that when you look at the sky now, you should be able to detect Saturn in Aquarius, not in Pisces, as this is described by the modern astrology. Look what also is said just briefly about Saturn. Ninurta, Saturn has two major aspects in the Sumerian texts. Now, just to remind to you, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, and then continued by the Akkadian culture. This is this very culture, which is the culture, Mesopotamia in Greek means the two rivers. So this is the culture which occupies the place Tigre and Euphrates, which now would be somewhere around the contemporary Iraq. So Ninurta, Saturn, Ninurta, his manifestation or incarnation, back then Sumer, and then even Akkad, which is Babylon, which is contemporary Iraq. So Ninurta has two aspects in the Sumerian texts. He is fierce, irresistible warrior, defending in Leo, and Leo is one of the Anu, and Leo and Ea are the primal gods. He's son of one of them. And Sumer against the foreign mountain lands, and he is a god of agriculture, animal fertility, the faithful plowman, because he's also ruling certain constellations. The portrait of Ninurta incorporates also former martial aspect. In Sumerian literature, Ninurta shares many of his martial attributes with his brother Nergal, like I just told you. So he's king, he's god, and in some texts, like I told you, Ninurta and Mars Nergal are considered almost the same, but Ninurta was a little bit more predicted. So people would fear Mars more, because it was known also back then that Saturn, in his representation as Ninurta, the god of agriculture, was god of wisdom, and we owe our wisdom to him. So what is happening now? Straight to the point. He is in Aquarius, and very shortly, very soon, 6th of February, he's hiding. And the concept of planet hiding in the rays of the sun is classically that the planet is descending into the netherworld. The god, the ruler, the divinity which is ruling the planet is descending into the netherworld. So Saturn will not be seen. You will try to detect him on the sky, you will not see him. Like now, for example, Mars is in the same condition, he's invisible. Doesn't make these two planets less powerful, just that they manifest their energies in a different way, in different ways. So I spoke about Mars. I don't want to speak now about Mars, and I'll make another video on the invisibility of Mars because this is also equally important. But Saturn becomes invisible, and this is diurnal planet. This is the king who is very, very powerful, very high hierarchy. He's the seventh from the planet. So the higher you go, the higher the hierarchy goes. So what do we have in the 12 degrees of Aquarius? First of all, he's descending into the netherworld. So his influences will not be that evident. He will operate from a little bit more subtle, maybe indirect or secretive as well, secretive ways. So what he will bring us in terms of karma, lessons, wisdom, will be taking place in a very subtle, like something will be cooked for us, and we will find out once he becomes visible, which is again 17th of April. Also, he disappears and he takes with himself what the 12 degrees of Aquarius means. In 12 degrees Aquarius, 2 degrees away only, in the vicinity of it is the star Fomalhaut. This is one of the 4 royal stars. Fomalhaut, star of the Guru. I will remind to you, we have 4 royal stars in the ancient astrology, which form the cross. This is Aldebaran, Antares, Regulus in the heart of the lion, and Fomalhaut in Aquarius. Fomalhaut is truly spiritual, very benevolent, amazing star. Yes, this star has some slight, maybe negative, or what is bad, what is good is really already hard to address with such simplicity, but Fomalhaut is very, very spiritual star. So Saturn will disappears. He will take some of the old patterns, old beliefs related to our spirituality, because he's disappearing. He takes with himself what he represents, associated with the degree where he is. And this is the degree of Fomalhaut. In addition, this particular 12th degree of Aquarius, where Saturn is and where he's disappearing, is associated with fiery, somehow ambitious, independent, fiery energy. So let's say you have ascendant Aquarius, and your ascendant lies in the 12th degree Aquarius. At first sight, I would look at your horoscope and I would say this person is very independent, has this ambition and fiery energy, and is a true fighter. So this is also the degree where now Saturn will be disappearing. It is about rebellious nature as well. So he takes with him this, at times, sometimes energy that sometimes can be described as a bit naive, He takes this energy is also very idealistic, if you want, and he comes again with new energy on the 17th of April. And I will tell you what this new energy is, and this is amazing thing. He becomes visible in the 21st degrees of Aquarius. And when he becomes visible, look at this as new birth, like new Saturn is born. And he's born in the 21st degrees of Aquarius. 21st degree of Aquarius is where the waterman, Enki, is pouring the water. He's pouring the water. These degrees in the ancient astrology are called sacred, hermetic. They are full with meanings, because on first level, only look at the water. This is the place where the waterman is pouring the water. This is Water, what do we know about water? Just imagine. Water is memory, water is knowledge, water is abundance, water is akashis, records, water remembers, water is purification, water is everything, life on earth. So these degrees are very important. Therefore, the first appearance of Saturn in these particular degrees will be very, very important, because he will bring the new. And I do have hopes that this new will be pure. It will be information because of the energy of water, a lot of it because of the abundant energy of water. It will also be clean, pure, new. Depends, of course. Now see, here is the detail. Depends on our own energies, on our own vibration, because we attract what we vibrate, right? This is so simple. So this is what you will receive from this new energy of Saturn, depending on your personal vibration, energies, intention as well, and also karma, because water carries also this energy and information of karma, and also because Saturn is the lord of karma. Saturn is the lord of karma. He's the king, he's the god, he has martial characteristics, he's a lot, in his very hierarchy is bringing on also high vibrational element. He comes from a very high hierarchy. Yes, he's not as sweet as Venus would be. She brings the sweet, this very, how to tell you, Venus brings this very easy, pleasurous energies. Saturn comes, and Venus also brings wisdom, of course, and knowledge. Yes, she has her three manifestations as Athena, as Persephone, as Aphrodite. Yes, she brings wisdom as well, but nobody's as Saturn, straightforward. So yes, this is what he will bring. But again, depends on many things, on how you personally, each one of us personally will benefit from this or not. And here comes the big detail. I will look, of course, briefly at the 12 ascendants, but I have to tell you that, especially when it comes to Saturn, is very significant, very important. On how Saturn is placed in your horoscope. Many are the criteria, on how to judge the presence of Saturn in your horoscope. Of course, I made video on this, brief one, but quite, informative, I believe. It is important whether you're born in the day, whether you're born at night. It's important. The degree of the presence of Saturn is also very important. So, saying this briefly, I'm telling you that we'll make an overview, and then based on how Saturn is placed on your horoscope, you can add detail to my brief prediction. So Saturn becomes visible. God Ninurta, Kronos, Saturn, the wise man. We call him in my culture the old man, so he becomes visible he's the monk, if you want. So he becomes visible in the 21st degrees of Aquarius. And only 3 degrees apart is Mars invisible in Aquarius. So Mars, Saturn together, I can tell you that again, when we, just to give you a simple example, let's say you have this on your ascendant, I believe that this, yes, will bring you some difficulties. Person born with this particular situation. Saturn, Mars, invisible conjunction on ascendant. When Mars is in the 21st degree, and when Saturn is in the 21st degree, rises in the 21st degree, and Mars is in the 25th degree Aquarius, I would imagine that this person would have some challenges, of course, but also I will imagine that this is a very practical, disciplined, warrior-like even, disciplined person, very, very driven, full with energy, very strategic, very disciplined, very spiritual, knowing a lot, very, because you see, Saturn is rising in the waters of Aquarius, brave, wise, practical, disciplined, spiritual, but some events would not really be easy in this person's life. This is just very briefly to tell you how this might influence you. Of course, there would be aspects from other planets. This also matters. And in the meantime, there is no affliction. Mars and Saturn as afflicting, but I think there would be only aspects from Jupiter, which actually is absolutely not bad. So, saying this, of course, we'll be looking at the 12 ascendants. Before continuing, just to mention to you globally what the Saturnian invisibility until 17th of April will bring. Always Saturn takes with himself also old structures, and Saturn is ruling the governments. You will see, of course, this depends on the country and the country's horoscopes, but how the old more and more and is disappearing, and then Saturn is invisible every year. And so this way he's responsible for the new. He takes away the old with himself. And also, let's not forget, he's in Aquarius, and we are at the doorstep of the age, the era of Aquarius. So yes, he is about the structure, and he's removing, taking with himself some of the old structures. Some elderly people will go, old structures, old rulers. Also, you will be witnessing this. But as I'm telling you, this is not unique. Every once a year, he's disappearing. But he is unique with the degree where he disappears and reappears, where he's dying and is born again. So we're starting with ascendant Aries. And as usual, we're looking from both perspectives, sidereal and tropical, for people who are familiar with the tropical astrology. So sidereal ascendant Aries, or moon in Aries, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Taurus. Now for you, Saturn is on your 11th house, and his disappearance and appearance will be taking place on your 11th house. And also, in the meantime, you will be having, during his entire course of invisibility, you will be having Jupiter on your ascendant. And this is important, protecting you. It is very good. For you, this phases of disappearance and appearance will take place on your 11th house. This will have to do with old connections, friendships, old ideas, old ways of making money, probably. And Saturn is, the meantime, is making sextile to Jupiter, who is on your ascendant. And this is very good. Jupiter is having this beautiful protective role in your horoscope. And this will be the case until the beginning of May. So yes, you see how some old ideas, old plans are disappearing. Maybe this will have impact on your career somehow, on your career plans. Some projects may go, things that you probably will miss in the beginning, but then later on you will realize that they had to go for your good, so that something new enters your life. So yes, in this sense, see a little bit of impact on yes, money. Of course, be a little bit more attentive with children. Depends on how Saturn is placed in your horoscope. But connections, old views, old plans may go. And because new will come. Now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Taurus or moon in Taurus, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Gemini. For you, Saturn will be on your 10th house. Yes, he's making friendly aspect with Jupiter, but he has impact already as we are in this very moment, and you know about this. So he has impact on your career. How exactly he influences you, of course, depends on your horoscope. But now he will bring another level of change in your career, more like removing some old patterns, something traditional, some old projects, ideas, plans, and back in later on in April he will introduce something new. So this is very important. Yes, you may experience this as not very harmonious because sometimes we are resisting change, but Saturn will bring this next level of change into your career, plans, highest goals. Of course, watch out a little bit, be careful, with parents, make sure that they maintain healthy lifestyle. So basically, this is it for you. He will mainly have impact on your career. And now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Gemini or moon in Gemini, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Cancer for you. For you now, Saturn will make his change on your ninth house, which is related to studies, philosophies, long distance travel, connections, far distant connections. He makes friendly aspects with Jupiter. This is important because Jupiter will be softening his energy. But around this period of time, be a little bit careful how you travel. But when he becomes visible, he may bring you new connections, new contacts, new media opportunities. Excuse me, please. He will also probably bring you new knowledge, interests in new studies. He will give you this new impulse to complete education or to start something new. So this is fine. He can even bring you level of protection because he's trine in your ascendant, and this is considered to be very harmonious. So really, this would be very interesting transit of Saturn and heliacal phase of Saturn in your horoscope, which I don't consider to be really malefic. Now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Cancer or moon in Cancer, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Leo. For you, people who have sidereal ascendant Leo, Cancer, or tropical Leo, this particular placement of Saturn is on your 8th house. He disappears and then he reappears to bring something, to take away something old, to bring something new. 8th house, yes, is related, of course, a bit to some more yes, grim, sad events, but on the other hand, he will bring you something new. He may, of course, have impact on finances, finances from contracts, partnerships. Some may disappear. You may lose certain, let's say, contracts, but then something new will come in April, like something new, some new opportunity, new ways of making money. This may have impact also on the finances of your partner. Like he or she may have certain crisis temporarily with the disappearance of Saturn, but then something new will reappear, and this is not bad. And this will not be so extreme because Jupiter is making harmonious aspect. But this will be some interest. There will be some interesting movement related to very large degree to finances via unexpected sources. Like he may bring conclusion to when he disappears in February to like court cases, unexpected sources of finances, inheritances, like this. And later on, he will bring you something new, which I totally don't see as malefic. He may have impact on, of course, on your career. He makes aspect to your 10th house and to Jupiter in your 10th house. But again, in April, he will bring something new if you feel that he takes away something or that he causes you delay. You will see how things will start moving again in April. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Leo or moon in Leo, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Virgo. Now for you, this particular placement of Saturn and his heliacal phases, disappearances are taking place on your seventh house. As you know, seventh house has to do with relationships, with your marriage, with partnerships. Of course, there you may have some movement with contracts, agreements. There you may have changes which will be which changes if, let's say, there is a contract which reaches closure. You may have something new coming out in April. When it comes to romantic life, of course, you may need to be quite diplomatic, careful, intuitive with your partner, because Saturn may also test a little bit your relationship, your romantic life. There you may need to be a bit more careful. But with agreements as well, you have to be, during this period of time, be careful when it comes to signing agreements, contracts, like double check everything, make sure that you're very well informed about every single aspect of agreement, contract, and so on. Now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Virgo or moon in Virgo, or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this is Libra for you. For you, this particular phase of Saturn is taking place on your 6th house. Saturn on your 6th house will bring changes related to your 6th house, which of course is your routine, your everyday job, people which surround you. So this particular disappearance of Saturn may bring closure to certain aspect of your work, and then when he becomes visible again in April, you may see movement, something new come in, or new models in your work, or he can bring closure to some old tradition, and then something new will reoccur, will happen, like maybe new ways of doing your work, or new regulations, or new rules, depends, you see. Health-wise, you may need, of course, to be a little bit careful, because we don't know how, in particular, Saturn is positioned in your horoscope. But in general, he will have certain impact on your routine. And later in April, you may feel very busy. You may see some movement, with his appearance on the 21st degree of Aquarius, your 6th house. And now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Libra or moon in Libra, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Scorpio. Now for you, Saturn will be making these important phases, movements in your 5th house, which is the house of the good fortune, directly related to good things, talented work, talented knowledge, of course children, of course gains, money too, or money that we generate through such our own talents. And Saturn, with his disappearance in February, can put an end, closure to some of your creative projects, let's say. Or if you're doing something new, say, well, I put an end on this, to this particular talented work or project, and then something new will come, which will be end of April. This is because he takes away with himself what he represents. So in this regard, he can be very benevolent, because he will bring you new knowledge, creative impulse as well, knowledge abundantly, and maybe some financial benefits related to creative projects also. This is because the nature of this house in general is very good. This is one of the lucky places in the horoscope. This is the house of the good fortune. Of course, it all depends on your Saturn, how he's placed in your horoscope. Saying this, yes, you may need to be a little bit more attentive with children, their reactions, their attitude, communication in general, and so on. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Scorpio or moon in Scorpio, or if you're following a modern tropical astrology, This will be Sagittarius. Now for you, Saturn is in your fourth house, and there he is making these important heliacal phases from your fourth house related to your home, property, also, of course, parents. Yes, there he may, you may need to be, of course, a little bit more, well, attentive, careful with parents to make sure that they maintain healthy lifestyle because of this disappearance, reappearance of Saturn. Of course, he may bring changes in your home situation, like he may have impact on ideas like relocation, deals related to property, especially when he becomes visible. He may come up with opportunities or different ideas. Again, depends on how Saturn is placed in your horoscope. In the meantime, you may need to be careful with your romantic life a little bit, because he is in his well, this is Saturn, and he will be squaring with his phases, seventh house of your marriage, relationships. So you may need to be careful when it comes to agreements, also your romantic life, communication with partner, and so. And now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Sagittarius or moon in Sagittarius, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Capricorn. Saturn in the third house of yours becomes invisible, 6th of February, and then visible in 17th of April. Yes, this can directly be related to communication with brothers and sisters. There you may need to watch out, but he can put a closure and like new opportunities, new opening in April. Of course, studies. You may have this new impulse to study something new classes. He may have impact on your spirituality, awakening, and so in a good sense. In the meantime, he will be making sextile out to Jupiter from your fifth house. So this can be a very creative, courageous impulse as well. So I see this as really not totally, absolutely not a bad situation in your horoscope, but how far he will go depends very, very much on your natal horoscope and how Saturn is placed in your natal horoscope. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Capricorn and moon in Capricorn. Or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Aquarius. And Saturn, who rules your ascendant, is in your second house. And he's very important in your horoscope because you are Saturn, Your ascendant is your house of life, and you are familiar with the Saturnian energies. So every phase of Saturn has impact on your life, of course. Saturn in your second house will have, of course, on first level impact on finances, like initially when he becomes disappear, he may bring closure to something, some deals or financial aspects of your work, of course. He may have good impact when he becomes visible on communication with family roots, family members. In general, of course, watch out a little bit for your health of family members, yes, but in general, I believe that when he becomes visible, you may have some interesting new financial opportunities, or financial matters which you feel are delayed may start really moving again. It will be quite financial indeed. Then we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Aquarius or moon in Aquarius, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Pisces. For you, this whole situation is taking place on your ascendant, very important. Direct impact on your personal plans, views, desires, relationship, very much like you are in charge, you are planning. And Saturn, you may feel during the phase of his disappearance how you will be seeing delays in things, or some old model structures in your life are disappearing, and then something new will come again in April, after mid-April. in general, this will have to do a lot with you, your deep emotions, your deep perceptions, your deep emotions related to your partnership as well. This may have very serious impact on your romantic life relationship, because Saturn will be testing your relationship. I don't say that this is bad. You know the energy of Saturn, since your ascendant is Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. So this will be interesting and quite deep, and will operate on the subtle levels of yours. So it will be quite interesting, and it will depend a lot on your own decisions. And now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Pisces or moon in Pisces, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Aries. This is Saturn now is on your 12th house, and this is the place where he will be appearing and disappearing on 6th of February and then appearing back on 17th of April. This, of course, is very, very seriously related to your secret place, to your spiritual work. This can bring very important impact on your mission, like you can realize what you really want to do, on your approach to health. Saying this, of course, you may need to be more responsible for your health, but this will have to do with your perception of health, your perception of mission, what you're doing for the others. So he can come out on the 17th of April and bring you a lot in this regard. He can also remove some old enemies. So depends how he's placed in your horoscope, but this has to do also with secret enemies, and he can give you the means to overpower them if you want. When he becomes visible, you may come up with totally different vision of your mission, your spirituality. This will have to do with 12th house is very much related to our living abroad. Also, in this regard, he may have impact on your desires, ideas, plans, health-wise as well, like I told you. So this will be very deep, very, very powerful if you want for your horoscope, heliacal disappearance and then appearance of Saturn. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was about Saturn and his phases in February and in April. Of course, I will repeat this. More details you can see in your horoscopes. If you're interested to see this, of course, you can have consultation with me. In addition, Saturn is this major player who has impact on our reality, on the major mundane events which concern each one of us. So watch and see. This will be very interesting. This is not very rare, but like I told you, rare is the degree. He wouldn't really appear or disappear every time in the very same degree. I wish you all the best and see you very soon.